Max Verstappen has had a reputation as a troublemaker in Formula 1 in the past, but then what young driver doesn't have a bit of fire in them? George Russell slapped Valterri Bottas' helmet after crashing into the then Mercedes driver at Imola in 2021. Yet he's considered the nicest and politest boy to ever drive in Formula 1. This season, Max hasn't really had the chance to show why he has that reputation. Why bother fighting when you can finish half a lap ahead of everyone? So, why have Mercedes and Sky Sports accused Verstappen of purposefully taking revenge at Lewis Hamilton in Austria? Well, let's find out. Max has been pretty much unstoppable the last few months. He's been winning races with ease. In Austria, he had time to make a penultimate lap pit stop for fresh tyres to secure the fastest lap of the race, and still finish a comfortable 5 seconds ahead of second place Leclerc. He finished over half a lap ahead of the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, even before he got a time penalty. Max really hasn't had to battle with anyone for a few months now. In fact, Austria was the first time since Miami that he hasn't led every single lap. While he might have had a reputation for causing trouble on the track in the past, that reputation has died in the last few years. He hasn't had to cause trouble to win races and titles. So when we started seeing reports that Toto Wolff wasn't happy with how Verstappen was racing against Lewis Hamilton, we were taken aback. Max hasn't been in a battle with Mercedes this season. Well, apparently in Austria, Max and Lewis did have a tussle during the sprint qualifying. Hamilton was preparing for a final Q1 effort as the seconds kicked down to the checkered flag, having had his best time deleted in the first part of the weekend's second qualifying session for running too wide at the final corner, a lap that would have been enough to progress had it been legal. He was driving slowly to build a gap to Yuki Tsunoda ahead, and was not warned about Verstappen's fast arrival on a flying lap by Mercedes until the Dutchman was right behind him. The pair then accelerated onto the pit straight, where Hamilton began his flyer, and Hamilton finished his before the Red Bull then out-dragged and overtook the Mercedes approaching the first corner. Verstappen then appeared to not accelerate as normal from the uphill 90-degree right-hander, before gesticulating angrily at Hamilton from the cockpit of the RB19, while aboard the W14 Hamilton said, "Verstappen just quit his lap." The result of the incident meant Hamilton did not have time to set another lap, and he was subsequently knocked out in 18th, where he started the Red Bull Ring weekend's first race, while Verstappen went through with the second quickest Q1 time. Max actually set his personal best in that final sector even after coming across Hamilton in turn 10. The Mercedes team were clearly unhappy. Max obviously said he hadn't blocked Lewis on purpose, saying in his post-qualifying interview, "He blocked me into the last corner, so I had to brake more and I lost 3 tenths. So that wasn't ideal, I think not correct. But there were still a few seconds on the clock. I wasn't sure that lap time was going to be safe, so I wanted to continue. But yeah, I ran out of time and space with the two cars like that, which was a bit of a shame." Max Verstappen is an outstanding racing driver, and I'm pretty confident that he was perfectly aware of the fact that his lap was quick enough to get through to Q2. It wasn't even close either. He went through to Q2 by over 0.08 of a second. Toto did explain why Lewis had been in Max's way at the end of the Red Bull driver's flying lap. "Yeah, so I think the mistake happened on our side. Communication between us and Lewis didn't give him the right information to get out of Max's way. And I think no one wants to be in anybody's way because if you impede, you're getting penalised, so that was not the aim." After admitting it was his team at fault though, he went on to say that what Verstappen had done was clearly intentional, calling it a revenge foul. On the other side, turn 1 was a revenge foul. It was just to make sure that Lewis's lap was ruined. So one was not intentional, but the other one was intentional. Max might not have had to do much on-track battling this year, but that doesn't mean he's lost that mean streak that has made him so successful. Still, Wolff's branding of it as a revenge foul was still pretty blunt. Nonetheless, Sky Sports' Naomi Schiff was in complete agreement with the Mercedes boss, and pointed out that Verstappen was taking a great risk, considering impeding has generally been met with consequences from race control so far in 2023. "It's quite clear that that's exactly what it was," said Schiff on Wolff's revenge foul claim. "You can see his frustration from what we heard. Apparently Max was saying that he didn't think the lap he'd just completed, that he felt he was impeded by Lewis in, would have been enough to get him through, so he decided he wanted to start another lap, and that's why he impeded him in turn 1. So if we choose to believe that, my concern is on the exit of turn 1 on the run-up to turn 2. He very clearly blocks him there as well, and I don't understand why he's done that." Naomi is clearly as skeptical as Wolff about Verstappen's reasoning behind slowing down after turn 1. Even if Max was worried about his time and needed a corner to decide whether he needed another timed lap or not, he could have waited until later on the straight to abort the lap and have been comfortably out of Hamilton's way. His decision to stay on the racing line out of turn 1 and then not push, ruining Hamilton's lap, was not the choice he would have made if his explanation of the events were true. Naomi continued by saying, I get the frustration. You don't want to be impeded, but he knows just how hard they've been policing exactly that this season so far, and he had a lot to lose by doing that. Drivers sometimes really frustrated helmets on, and they make silly decisions, but it's just unfortunate for Lewis because for him, it was not an intentional move from him. Of course he impeded Max by being there, but Max was clearly a lot more intentional about what he was doing. Considering Mercedes and Red Bull's history with each other, it's incredibly surprising that neither team decided to take the incident to the stewards. Obviously, Max didn't lose anything by being blocked by Lewis, but Lewis got knocked out of Q1 due to Max blocking him. Mercedes probably had a case against Max if they wanted to make it. Apparently, Mercedes decided not to take it to the stewards because they know that it was the lack of information they gave to Lewis that started the whole incident. Nonetheless, Mercedes did mention it to the FIA, who have agreed to speak to all the drivers at the British Grand Prix driver meeting to make sure that they know that revenge blocks such as Verstappen's will be punished in the future. Not that that will worry Max too much. At the Canadian Grand Prix, the teams chasing Red Bull seemed to close the gap up slightly, but the Dutchman's performance in Austria has put him straight back to where he's been all season, in a class of his own. In fact, he's actually been laughing at the media reaction to the Canadian race, claiming that the other teams were catching up to him. In the post-FIA press conference, host Tom Clarkson asked, "You were 25 seconds ahead of your nearest pursuer prior to that last pit stop. It seems your closest pursuers aren't as close as we thought they were 2 weeks ago in Canada." Verstappen replied, "Exactly, but I loved all the articles about it. Yeah, some weekends they work a bit better for you and some don't. And for me, Montreal wasn't that fantastic in the race from our side. And here, I think we did a really good job, and then naturally the gap is a bit bigger." Max may have been lucky not to pick up a penalty during the sprint shootout in Austria, but in the grand scheme of things, would it really make a difference? He's winning the Drivers' Championship by 81 points, and if Sergio Perez hadn't scored a single point all season, Red Bull would still be winning the Constructors' Championship by 51 points. Yes, he can be aggressive on track at times. Yes, he is a bit of a nightmare for his team to handle when he decides what he wants to do. Yes, he is arrogant and doesn't play for the media and fans in the same way that Lewis Hamilton did while he dominated the sport. But at the moment, he is in some of the most incredible form Formula One has ever seen, and that doesn't look like stopping anytime soon. Do you think Max should have gotten in trouble for his block on Lewis? And do you see a way for anyone to challenge him for a race win this season? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.